Hi everybody, this is Mike Langford. Welcome to this month's Pearl Capital webinar. So why don't we go ahead and get started? I'll go back to the title slide there. This presentation is called Referrals for ISOs, How to Create a Steady Flow of Referrals for Your Business. And by way of introduction, for those of you who haven't heard me present before, or for those of you who haven't forgotten who I am, my name is Mike Langford. I'm the CEO of finservMarketing. We have an agreement or an arrangement with Pearl Capital where we are helping to basically offer some marketing tips, tricks, and full-on education guidance to the ISO community, because as Pearl sees it, rising tide, right, lifts all boats. We are really looking to help you succeed in your business, and by offering you this series of webinars and frankly the new website that Pearl Capital has pulled together that is offering all sorts of educational materials, recordings of these webinars, blog post type content, and so forth. What we're hoping is you take some of this stuff and you use it in your business to grow the business, right? And then you create a better flow of deals for your business, and of course that helps Pearl as well. So anything that we can do to help you, please send it our way. If there's anything that you think we're not covering, that we're missing, or you'd like to see us cover in the future, please do let us know about that. So again, a little bit about my background here. As you see on the screen, I've been in the financial services industry for 23 years, primarily in the investment side of the world, but Pearl and I have been working together for about a year now, and the relationship has really started to mature, and I really feel like we're getting to know not just the Pearl Capital business, but also your business. As I've talked to a lot of you, or some of you you and I have phone calls and emails and so forth. Some of the people are attending this session today, so I've really gotten to know you and the things that are working for you, things that aren't working for you, and I'm really enjoying the process. To stay in touch with me, Twitter, @Mike Langford. You can also email me. At the end of this presentation, you'll see my email there. I'm pretty much Mike Langford on every social media platform, so I'm pretty easy to find. In keeping with that, you can also find Pearl Capital. This slide here will have some of their contacts. You can find them. They're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Like I said, the Pearl Capital website, I think Grant will likely send that out. Everybody golf clap for Grant Pastor. He manages all these accounts. He does a fantastic job. He's a guy who sends out the email newsletters that you get. Very responsive and doing a great job to grow the engagement with the ISO community. If you want to tweet along, if you find anything here that you're learning that you want to share with your community, your team, feel free to use the hashtag Pearl Referrals. That way we can go back and look at it and kind of see what we can learn from you along the way, because this is a little bit of a two-way street, right? Any feedback that you give us is really helpful. Okay, so let's dive in. I'm super excited about this presentation today, and I must say this is one where I learned a lot in preparation for this webinar, because a lot of times I'm doing these webinars, and because I am a marketing expert, I do this for a living, spend a lot of time in the financial community, as I mentioned, helping companies acquire clients, fill their funnel, retain clients longer, grow client relationships, all that good stuff. And there's some universal things that you see across the financial services landscape. And one of them is just about every financial professional you meet will tell you that they get a lot of their business from referrals. Now, I know the ISO business model, at least for most of the ISOs that I've had the pleasure of talking to, is a little bit different in that many ISOs are using a more old school sales approach, right? Kind of dialing for dollars or using email marketing, either buying a list or growing a list and just continuously putting stuff out there and using the law of large numbers to kind of feed their funnel. And we've talked about that in previous webinars. But by and large, I'll bet you, several of you will acknowledge that you get referrals from time to time, and it's a valuable piece of new business for you, right? That you rely on. Hey, if I do a good job, if I help merchants with their business, they're going to send me referrals. And I find that to be consistent across everywhere. So I'm really excited about this because I started digging, like, how do I help people construct a formal process for generating referrals? And I had to dig in and start reading some books and so forth, and other people's blog posts and videos as I prepped. And I learned a few new things, and I'm really excited to share them with you. But let's start out with why are referrals so valuable, other than the obvious, like, hey, they bring me business, right? Well, a referral, as Nielsen discovered in some of their analysis, and Nielsen's a big global polling and researching company. Yes, it's the same company that has Nielsen ratings for TV, but they do a lot of other type of stuff. So Nielsen found that referrals convert way better than non-referrals, right? So and the way that you think about this is if you were to get a lead, and that lead came to you cold, or that lead came to you via a referral, the lead that came via a referral is 4 times more likely to convert, to buy from you. And on the surface, you're like, wow, that's crazy, but it makes sense, right? It really makes sense. You're getting somebody that was sent to you. That either means they went looking for your solution. They're like, hey, listen, I need to raise some capital for my business. Who do you know? How can I do that? Or somebody who knows them says, hey, you need to go talk to my friend over here. He's an ISO. He helped me in my business, or I know he helps businesses like yours. You need to go talk to this person, right? So it starts to make a lot more sense there. So the person is kind of already in the market. And as this next slide says here, referrals are warm leads, right? They come to you. They're already heated up, right? If I send somebody to come talk to you, I've probably not just said, hey, go talk to Bob, or hey, go talk to Dan, right? I've spent some time talking to the person about the value. Why should they go talk to you? What is the benefit, or what will happen for their business if they do that? What's really, really interesting here in looking at the analysis, so this Nielsen study, so this is another piece from the Nielsen study, it was really in the trust, they were looking at trust in advertising. Mechanisms by which a prospect, in your case a merchant, discovers your business, becomes aware of your business or your solution, and then they find their way into your funnel, right? So you're putting advertising, you're putting marketing information out into the world. And what they found was that the referral, the recommendation, you can also use that, was the highest rated in terms of trustworthiness, and at 83% of people, and this is across all industries, right? And I think it's probably doubly so, or it can't double 83%, but even more important, let's say, in a financial decision, right? Because in a financial decision, it's really, really stressful. It's really, really meaningful and important as well. And it kind of in our society where people are uncomfortable talking about money, the fact that somebody would become vulnerable enough or open themselves up to the concept of seeing a recommendation or receiving a referral from somebody, whether that's a coworker, a colleague, one of a business owner who's in the same community as them, or a friend or family member, the fact that they would seek that out lends extra weight to it, right? But yeah, 83% of the people surveyed trust recommendations more than anything else, more than any other form of advertising or marketing message that they can see. And then it's a 66%, so 2/3 trust opinions posted online. So there's a slight difference there, right? If I give you a specific recommendation, I say, you should use Bob's ISO, right, to help you for capital, that's one thing. But if I go online and I start doing some research, and then I find that lots of people are saying good things, whether it's on the Facebook page or some other medium, about that business as I search for it, or if I happen to see that one of my friends liked their page or something like that, wow, that just added a lot of weight. It took some of the burden off me, right? It takes some of my discomfort off. So these people are already warmed up for you. They're pre-qualified oftentimes when they come in the door. So referrals are really, really huge for us. I think another reason why referrals are so valuable is, and I think about this all the time, there's a little bit of a double-edged sword here, but it's I would say 90% positive and 10% potentially negative, and you can get rid of that 10% negative if you just don't mess it up, right? And by the way, it's both edges of it, but you're growing relationships. So if I send you somebody and they become a client, or if that merchant converts and does a deal with you, I've just made 2 people that I know extraordinarily happy, right? The referral partner feels like a boss. They're like, hey guys, I sent my friend over and they got the funding they needed, and awesome, I feel good about myself, right? And then the new merchant's like thrilled because they solved a problem they really had. They needed some capital kind of nowish and you were able to help them, and so then they love you, they're happy with you, and they're more likely to send you business, but also they're thrilled with the person who sent them to you. So you're really building these relationships, and that's really part of it. We hear it all the time in the financial business that it's a relationship-based business. That this is how I'm going to get a lot of my business. I have to keep people happy. Word gets around if I don't keep people happy. And if you're working to foster referrals, you're likely to see more and more of that. That's going to help grow your business. This one's kind of, it's difficult to quantify, but it does make sense, right? The lower cost of deal acquisition. Now, I don't know exactly what it costs you specifically to acquire deals in your business, and I know it varies from shop to shop. It's the same across every other financial firm as well, by the way, that acquiring business is often expensive. And if you have repeat customers, usually it's very expensive to get the customer initially in the door, and then much less expensive to keep them rolling, right? And getting them to re-up, in your case, maybe do another deal after the one deal rolls off, or getting them to start giving you referrals, right? So we want to get to the point where we get them in the door as efficiently as possible. And so when a referral comes to you, we already mentioned that they're 4 times more likely to convert than a non-referred person. So that's awesome, right? So let's get the merchant in the door in a state where they're likely to convert. But, you know, one of the reasons why we start seeing is, you read down the list here, you know, referral fees, and that's not uncommon, by the way, and we'll talk a little bit about that more later. Referral fees are paid frequently, and you may have a relationship already with a few people in your network where you're like, hey, if you send me business, I'll cut you a deal. I'll give you $100, or I'll give you X% of the deal, or whatever that is. So you may have that relationship already in place, but you surely don't pay it just for the lead, right? You pay it when the person converts, or at least that's the way it should happen, right? In scenarios where you're paying for leads, they're usually buying them in bulk, or you know, you have what you kind of put it back in. If you're doing an affiliate model or something like that, you're paying per click or something like that, but you're doing something in a way where you're buying leads in bulk, and then kind of your cost per lead, you're figuring it out in terms of total spend divided by leads acquired. Referrals, usually we're only paying for the lead once it converts. We're going to cover some of this later, but if you have a referral engine, if you want to call it, in place, you're creating some materials to support that, I would assume, right? Whether it's a website, whether it's some print materials, and we'll talk about this in much more detail, but usually it's somewhat evergreen in nature, right? Like you do it once and you don't have to do it over and over and over again. So it's not like you're constantly creating a new campaign to push out to Facebook or Google or whatever, and then constantly think about how do I rejigger the keywords and the images and so forth. Referrals are different, right? What we're really trying to do is foster this ability for somebody to easily send us business, right? And so if we create materials that do that, we don't have to create them over and brand new every single time. This is human to human talk, and that's the way it should work. And lastly, many of the efforts from a referral perspective are not as labor intensive as many other things that you're doing potentially to get business, right? So in other words, you're not having to make as many phone calls to convert a referral. If we get referrals coming in, we know that they're 4 times more likely to convert. So in theory, I should have to make 4 times fewer phone calls, right? That type of thing. Okay, so amplifying your abilities. This is the last thing, and I think it's commonly overlooked. If you're building a referral engine, a referral network, if we do it correctly, we're going to not only see a steady flow of businesses, but it's the fact that we've got other people out there on the lookout for us, that they're doing some of the heavy lifting for us and sending us businesses, and we've created a scenario in which they're thrilled to do so. And that's awesome, right? It's amplifying your own ability. And I know many of you, not all of you, are operating in smaller shops. So there's one person doing most of the business, or you might have an assistant, right? If you can amplify your abilities, and it's not just relying on your effort, that's awesome. If you've got people who are working when you're not working, or gladly opening up their Rolodex to you, use an old-fashioned term, right? Opening up their network to you, that's an amazing thing for you and your business. Okay, so let's talk about the fundamentals of referrals. Like, what are the core building blocks of referrals? Because it's not always obvious what they are. We all like think, oh, it's relationships, right? If I have good relationships and I ask for a referral, I'll get it, type of thing. And that's not always the case, right? So let's talk about some of the fundamentals to make sure that we, and this is some of the squishy stuff, right? Some of it's touchy-feely, big warm hug, I guess, but they're necessary, right? People doing business with other people. The minimum requirements as I see them, and you've actually heard some of this stuff when we did the first social sales for ISOs last year. I want to say it was last September. We did that first webinar together. You've heard me say that, you know, the old adage of people do business with those they know, like, and trust, and that is 1,000% true, right? I have to know you, like you, trust you in order to send you business. But I also have to have confidence in your ability. I have to believe you know what you're doing, and believe that somebody I send to you, not only do I trust you that you're not going to rip them off or do them dirty type of thing, be shady to them, but I have to have confidence that you're going to have the ability to execute, to do a good job, right? I always joke about know you, like you, trust you. That fits some of my family members. Like, I had to trust them, you know them, that type of stuff. But do I have confidence in their abilities to do certain things, right? Do I have confidence that they will get my kids to school on time if I had to have them babysit overnight during the work week? Some of the answers is no. I don't have confidence that everything's going to go off without a hook, so I'll ask somebody else to watch the kids, right? Same is true in your business. You're asking somebody to go to bat for you with another merchant that they have in their network and send them your way. They have to have confidence that things are going to go well, right? They cannot have any nervousness that it's not going to go well. People have to be familiar with you. They can't, the familiarity concept, and so I was, you know you, like you, trust you, have confidence in you, and be familiar with you. They have to see you frequently enough to think of you, because, hey, our brains get stuffed with whatever is present, and so we're always out there, we're doing business, and if I haven't heard from you or seen you or had any interaction with you in a year or two or more, you're not going to come top of mind when I talk to somebody who needs you. So let's make sure that we're familiar. And the last two here gets to that easy concept I mentioned earlier. You have to have an easily identifiable value. Not everybody is walking around as easy to identify that somebody needs your service. I mean, they know what they used you for if they were a client or a merchant that has used you and had you help them with an MCA at a certain point in time or some other type of capital instrument. So they understand, but what if it's a different referral partner, whether it's an attorney, an accountant, or something like of that nature? Can they easily identify the value that you provide to somebody else and notice when somebody has that need? Well, that's part of the plan here. And then, is it easy to share your message? Can I get the word out about you and your business and your offering without screwing it up? Is it easy to share? Because if somebody doesn't feel comfortable being able to share what you do, they might back off, right? Because nobody likes to be embarrassed or just not know what they're talking about. So they really need to feel good about it. So let's talk about your referral network. This is one of the interesting ones when we talk about how do you get referrals. And I'll look back at the work that we've done with financial advisors over the years. And one of the things I've heard over and over and over again is, I rely on referrals. I get lots of referrals for new business. And you ask them, like, do you have a process in place for referrals? And the answer is usually no. Like, I just get referrals. Like, clients will send me business. And that's counting on luck. We don't want to count on luck. And then you dig a little deeper and you start asking people about, like, well, who's in your referral network? And you'll usually get the same, CPA or an estate attorney. Like, so they get a couple of the, check the box, everybody, but there still doesn't seem to be a formal process in place for those people. And you quickly identify that most folks, and I think this is true for the ISO community as well, haven't done a lot of work in thinking about who should be sending them referrals. Like, who would benefit from sending you a referral? So I look at, like, when I think about your business, we've talked a lot about the target market, by the way, right? Ask yourself, who relies on the business of the merchants that you serve in your target market. Now, if you don't have a target market yet, if you haven't gone through that exercise yet, feel free to go and look at the previous webinar we did on niche marketing for ISOs, or you also refer to it as a target market. But assumingly you have some level of target market, right? Who relies on those people's business, those merchants' business, right? Suppliers, service providers, clients of the merchant, right? There are people out there that if the merchant that you serve, your target market, isn't able to pay them or isn't able to buy more from them, it's a problem for them. So you're a solution for them. We need to make sure that we get, so if think of an auto shop as an example. If you got an auto shop and they can't afford to buy parts because they're running out of cash, the local part supplier is going to have a problem. So it might be smart to have a relationship with a part supplier to be able to help those people out, right? The good question to ask, and there's a variety that you could ask, is do your customers ever fall behind in paying you on time? And if so, what do you do about that? Do you just keep sending them invoices and tell them you're going to charge them a late fee? Or do you ever present them with a solution to, if you're having trouble paying us on time and it's a cash flow crunch, we work with this ISO provider, and they help businesses just like yours, right? So a great little suggestion there. On the next category is like, who should want to provide a viable alternative to your target market? And one of these, this is wonderful, and I got to thank Dan. I won't give you your last name, Dan. I hope you're on the webinar here. But I had a good conversation with somebody who attended our last webinar, a gentleman by the name of Dan ISO, and I asked him how he builds his business and how he finds clients, client merchants now. And he mentioned that he has relationships with some local bankers. And well, that's interesting. You have some bankers. He's like, well, here's the deal. Like, they want to keep the merchant's business, but occasionally the merchant comes in and they need a loan and they need some sort of financing instrument, and they can't serve them. The credit's not there, the cash flow is not there to support it. It's a challenge, and they don't want to see the merchant go out of business, obviously, because if they do, it's bad for them. So he's kind of like, send them my way. I'll help them because I have some alternatives, MCA being one of them, right? So think about who has a vested interest in that merchant. It could be the bankers, right? It could be the investors that are in that business, and that happens a lot, right? Think of restaurants as an example. Very few restaurants are started with bank loans because restaurants notoriously go out of business. So there's usually some investors who are investing in restaurants, and there are people who make their living off of investing in restaurants. Well, if you find some of these investors, maybe you can be one of their preferred providers of emergency funding, right? So anyone who's owed money or has a stake in the company or the merchant that you're looking to do business with in your target market, they should be part of your referral network. Really, really important. Real quick, and this seems like an obvious kind of no-duh slide, but it's worth saying. Referral partners can shake hands. And what I mean by that is it's a human, right? Saying that, oh, we have a referral relationship. And you see this in the startup world, by the way, all the time. Oh, we have, they do business development. Like we have referral partners or related partners in this. And it's like, no, you don't. It's just another company, and you put their logo on your website. You should be able to call the referral partner and ask for them by name, or have their email address, because that's the human being who's going to think of you and is going to send you business. Okay. Make sure you have them. So bankers, if you saw that in that last slide, I didn't say banks, I said bankers, like the people who work at the bank. Okay, so referral psychology. This is the part that I really got wowed by when I was doing research for this webinar, because some of the stuff I actually didn't know, and I'm really excited that I got to know it in terms of reading a book, and I'll share the book with you here. But there is a psychology that is at play on behalf of your referral partners, and you have to recognize it and address it if you're going to be successful. Some people are givers; they'll always send you referrals. So just keep that in mind. You probably have people who send you referrals all the time, and it's just a natural thing. But for most people, there's a level of discomfort, right? My Yoda slide. First thing to think of is bringing balance to the force, right? My little fake Yoda quotes here, but give first, right, in order to receive referrals. You really have to demonstrate in your words and your actions that you're willing to give other people referrals, that you're willing to think of them and when the opportunity comes. And I'm going to show you some really easy ways, by the way, to do this. Even if you aren't able to identify a client or a customer for somebody and send them actual business immediately, I'm going to show you some ways towards the end of the webinar where you can demonstrate your willingness to promote their business and send them referrals without even really truly having to break your back doing it. But demonstrate that ability, right? Because when people start seeing that you're willing to send them business, when they feel that way, you're kind of putting out that referral karma into the world. Like, I am willing to send you business, and hey, the world rewards, right? People will send you business back because there's a, it's not just good karma, it is a putting a reciprocal expectation almost upon somebody. When I give you a gift, you kind of feel like you have to give me a gift back, right? I don't say it. I don't say I expect you to send me referrals, but if I send you a couple of referrals or I do something nice for you, don't you kind of feel like you have to do something nice for me? But you put enough of that out into the world and people will do it. Okay. So everybody's favorite radio station. This is why, right? People start thinking about the psychology of referrals, and they're like, the first thing that comes up in somebody's mind is, what's in it for me? What do you, the old joke, what's everybody's favorite radio station? WIIFM, right? What's in it for me? People think about that all the time. Right? What's the value of being in your referral network? Why do I even want to care about your business? Why do I want to even think about sending you referrals? If it's a merchant, hey, I got my merchant cash advance. I'm good to go. See you later. I don't want to talk to you. What's happening to me? Are you going to send me something? Are you going to give me something for this? Are you going to open the door for me in some other way, right? So the questions that are going on in their mind. If we can answer those questions, if we can show them, not only in our actions like we talked about in the Yoda slide there, but if we can show them that there is value in being a part of your referral network, that it will help your business, yeah, they'll gladly get on board. So let's answer that question for them. So this is a book that I was referencing that was an eye-opener, because I've read it, and I'm sure you've come across stuff and you've heard people talk about referrals before. Unstoppable Referrals by Steve Gordon here. He's got a great website, Unstoppable CEO. No reciprocal relationship here. I've not even met Steve, read the book. I've watched several of his videos on YouTube, so highly recommend for follow-up stuff from this webinar. You should check him out. And the Pearl team and I have talked about the potential of at some point in time doing some sort of live event, a little like a mini conference or something like that. And maybe we'll see if we can get Steve to come and be a speaker, because I'll tell you what, really good stuff in there. He's the one who opened me up to the psychology angle of this, because the traditional education or tips you hear about referrals pretty much boil down to like two main things, right? One is ask people for referrals. Like, come out and overtly ask, hey, will you send me referrals? Who do you know? Type of thing. So that's tip number one. And then tip number two is, go through your network, right? So kind of do a little bit of the tip number two, yeah, do the legwork for somebody, like kind of go through their list and ask for specific referrals. So don't just say, generally send me referrals, but put it out into the world that you want specific referrals. You've identified who it is and who they should send you. But Steve goes through some concepts like, hey, listen, merchants have doubts about the concept. So first of all, they've got their own business, right? They're out there, they're absorbed in their own world, right? And even though they trust you, they aren't sure, because you're sending them into a sales pitch, right? As the slide says, you're sending somebody into a sales pitch situation. You're asking, hey, Mike, will you go out and talk to your friend John and ask him if he needs my services? You introduce us and so forth. And there's a little bit of a discomfort. And I would posit that that's especially true when it comes to financial stuff. It's more so because, in the investment side of the world, people are uncomfortable. People don't walk around advertising how much money they have to invest. And so somebody who's going to go and say, hey, you should talk to my financial advisor, that's an uncomfortable conversation. If it's a merchant talking to another merchant, the notion of talking to somebody about their working capital constraints and other things that are going on in the business, whether they need growth capital or whether they are suffering and need an influx of cash, it's an uncomfortable thing. And what if it falls flat? Are they going to have egg in their face? Are they going to damage the relationship they have with that other person? So that's going through their mind. We have to make sure we tackle that. As I mentioned, MCA is a big financial decision. In the sales pitch, Discomfort, they don't necessarily know what to do. Like, they're not an ISO, they're not experts. Like, they may have, even if it's a merchant who literally just finished closing their deal with you, and they're so grateful, they're saying, thank you so much, I really appreciate that you saved my bacon, this is the best, I want to kiss your feet and name my next child after you, you helped me so much. They're not educated in terms of selling the merits of a merchant cash advance. And why somebody should select you over another provider and the like. So they're kind of uncomfortable with that. So we have to make sure we help them over that psychology, that hurdle, in order for them to be effective. And I never, so, kind of in closing this out in the slide with Steve's book here, I never thought of that, admittedly. I never thought that, yeah, it's true. Not everybody's going to be overly comfortable and feel confident in their ability to talk about me and talk about my business and is there something I can do to bring that burden down and make it easy for them? Right. So let's get into those referral generating activities. So we set the stage, like what can you do, or what should you think about as you're approaching these. So now let's dig into the stuff that's actually going to start generating value for you. All right. So number one, eliminate that doubt and discomfort. Right. Make it easy to connect you with other merchants. So instead of sending people out into the world saying, hey, please sell for me, right? Please send somebody my way who will spend money with me and do a deal with me. Ask them about their cash flow before they get there. Warm them up. Like, that's never going to happen, right? Show them you know them. It's kind of the opposite of the heinous because the anus type of concept, right? Show somebody you know them. Demonstrate that you know their challenges. And we've talked about this a little bit in the niche thing. So, bullet point number 2 here, be niche focused if possible. Create some piece of content. It can be a simple brochure. It can be a simple ebook. We're not talking a 50-page ebook, right? It can be a 5-page. You've typed it up in Microsoft Word or Google Docs or something like that, and it just looks relatively crisp and clean, and it has enough information in there to help somebody with something. It can be a webinar like this. It can be a video that you've created. It can be an event you're hosting if you're serving a local community. But tackle the concepts that are relevant to that audience, and also relevant to your business. So tackle merchant financing or cash flow related topics. What should merchants think about? And how can you help them, right? Just providing that information and making sure that it's branded, obviously has your number and email and website on it, making it really easy to talk to you. So that's step number 1, create a piece of content. Share that with your network. So they know, they're more educated, but we're gonna do something else in a second. Being niche focused, right? So if you're gonna write that ebook, let's say you have a niche and you are serving the automotive repair business as kind of our default example we've done here. Make a guide to securing capital for the automotive repair business. That is very likely to be read by every single automotive repair merchant that gets their hands on it. It's so unique. It's something they have not seen before because they've seen lots of spam come in their mailbox saying, oh, we can give you cash if you need it quick, blah, 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 blah. But in this case, we've got a referral partner handing them a guide to securing capital for your automotive repair business. Somebody they know is handing it to them or emailing it to them or what have you. Much more powerful, right? Offer to write the introduction. This is an interesting one that I've experienced this personally many times, and I always welcome it. Somebody will ask me if I will do something, if I will introduce somebody to someone else, and they will offer to write the email for me. And all I have to do is approve that letter and I can send it. It sounds really, really silly and ridiculous that somebody could be nervous or uncomfortable with typing an email to send to another merchant or somebody, especially somebody they know and they're comfortable with. But you will be very surprised at how uncomfortable people get. First of all, a very large portion of the merchant population in the world are not good typers. They may not be good on the phone. Right? They may not have the best grammar when it comes to typing, right? They certainly aren't necessarily going to be really great at describing why somebody should open the email that you're sending that has this piece of content or what have you, or any type of introduction. So, and they might not describe you the way you'd ask to describe. So do them a favor, write it for them. Make it simple. Doesn't have to be like 20 paragraphs, you know, a couple of quick lines. Hey, meet my friend Mike. Mike helped me with my financing before. He's written this really cool piece called A Guide for Securing Capital for Your Automotive Repair Business. I found it really valuable. I thought you might appreciate it. I wanted to share it with you. Something simple like that, right? Super easy, but do the work for them, right? If it's useful and valuable, a little bonus here, make it something that's relatively difficult for them to find on their own, right? Especially if we're customizing it. If somebody can find information by a quick Google search and it's right there in their face, fine. But if they have to really dig a little deeper, you've done the work for them, they'll value it, okay? So you just want to be positioned as somebody who can solve their problems by somebody they know. That's the positioning piece. Okay, so doing your homework. Commonly overlooked problem. Most, again, people aren't doing the work for them. Ask for specific recommendations. Now, I mentioned before, this is pretty common wisdom when we talk about referrals, but let's go a little deeper. So usually, the way that I've seen it done in the past is you go through somebody's LinkedIn network and you go, hey, Dan, would you mind introducing me to Grant? Because I found that Grant is, you know, in the business and he's a merchant that I know I could serve. Would you mind introducing me to Grant? And I go onesie twosies. Extra work for you, much more laborious. And by the time you send like the third or fourth one, Dan's getting annoyed. He's like, dude, you just asked me for a referral last week, and you asked me for another one, you know, on Monday. And like, geez, dude, like, give it a break, right? That could be a lot of work. It's not that you shouldn't come back to the same referral partner and ask them here and there, but you can't do it too many. You can't go back to the same well too many times, right? So instead, compile a list. Get a specific list together. So if you service, we'll keep on our automotive shop owner, right? Automotive repair shop owner. You find a merchant or a referral partner, you go through their LinkedIn network, and you find the 20 people that are in their community that own auto repair shops of some form. Now you take the list to your networking partner and you ask them, hey, who on this list would you say, you know, who are the top 5, 10, or 20 that I should contact first, right? Make sure you understand the things that they have in common with these contacts, and then ask them to share your piece of content. You've written the email, right? So you're basically making it really easy for them to select. And instead of asking a question, who do you know? You're asking instead, pick 5, pick 10, pick 20. You see the difference in that? Instead of giving a person the ability to say, I don't know, you're saying, here's a list, pick people from the list, please. That's different. You didn't give the person the opportunity to say, I can't pick any, or I don't know anybody. You're putting something in front of them and saying, multiple choice. Choose all that apply type of deal. And you're giving them a specific number. Really, really powerful stuff. Works way better. Okay, this is one of my favorites, and I am still personally reaping rewards of this strategy 20 years later in my career. And that's not an exaggeration. This is not something I read anywhere else in the world. This is something that I have personally experienced time and time again, and it never ceases to amaze me, and I'm immensely grateful, and I continue to do this now. I call it networking down to lift up. And I chose the term networking down on purpose because what is often recommended when it comes to networking is to network up, right? Don't once you start reaching, you know, I'll use, you know, typical corporate America levels. Once you reach, you know, vice president level, don't start talking to the, you know, the people who are below assistant vice president. Keep going up, you know, starting to go up the ladder so that you're always talking to people at your level or above, so you're getting to the level you want to be at. And that's great. And you should network up. You should still always be looking to, you know, improve your status and get up there. But there's tremendous value in taking a more, what I would call it, more of a mentoring approach, networking down and helping the new guy, helping the young guy get his or her feet under them because number one, they're hungry. And I want you to think back. I don't know where you are in your career. I'm 45, so I'm 20 plus years in. There are people that from my early 20s, I remember them, like what I learned from them, the fact that they were willing to take their time and introduce me to others and so forth, open doors for me. I am loyal to, like, they would have to do something horrible in order for me to like disown them. And in fact, I will go out of my way to send them business, to connect them with people they want to do. I will always, always have their back. And I constantly think of them when, if I come across something that I can send them and help them, I do it. And I've seen that time and time again. And what's good on that, the flip side is I'm receiving that now. So young guys, when I finished school, graduate school, Boston University, I would go back and just mentor a couple of, you know, new entering students. And sure enough, some of those people continuously send my business. Some of the entrepreneurs I've come in contact with, or the advisors that I've come in contact with over the years. I'll give you a really great example. 2 months ago, I had somebody, this is not big business, but it was really kind of neat. Somebody that I had helped probably 10 years or so ago, a couple of months ago, connected me with another company that needs my services. And it wasn't a huge deal, but it was just out of the blue. I hadn't heard from this person in years. And so suddenly out of nowhere, they're like, Mike, I thought of you and you should talk to this person. So it's kind of a long game. It doesn't usually produce immediate results, but work this into your game. Help out the new and uppercomers. They will be incredibly appreciative. And it's before they get jaded too, by the way. Like a lot of times, and we are all there, if you've been in business for a long time, you start to get, your skin gets a little thicker, right? You've experienced, you've got some war wounds, you get a little jaded and a little more guarded about who comes into your network. Get them while they're young. Convert them while they're young. This one's great. Give online recommendations to get online recommendations, basically. It's kind of that Yoda principle, right? Give to receive. Balance the force. So we heard, right, at the beginning, when we were talking about some of the Nielsen stuff, that 66% of people trust online opinions posted online, even, by the way, even if they're not accurate or not even done by real people, but people do. Like if you go to buy anything on Amazon or you go to a restaurant, I know people, and this is the example here that I use, I know people, and you probably do too, who will not eat at a restaurant unless they've checked Yelp. They insist on going on Yelp and seeing the reviews before they go eat at a place. And this is true for many, many people. We're increasingly reliant on digital. Many people live on their phone, and before they do make any purchase decision, they check the interwebs, right, to see what does the world say about this business. Well, this is a great way to start your referral network, to get people to do the same thing for you. When you bring on a new merchant, as soon as they come into your circle, go figure it out. If you're serving restaurants or other local businesses, go to the Yelp, go to TripAdvisor if you're serving hotels, go to LinkedIn, Facebook pages or whatever, give them a like, write up a quick recommendation. It only takes like 2 minutes. But again, that you've now just sowed the seeds of that reciprocal thing. And don't be afraid to ask them. Send them an email. Hey, would you come and leave us a recommendation on our website or on our Facebook page? Would you click like, and when you say something nice, would you come on LinkedIn and give me a recommendation personally for working with me? Here's the thing. Most social networks, the people they're connected with will also see that. When they go and like a page or write a recommendation, it shows up in the rest of their network's feeds. They've effectively referred you without overtly referring you, without actually having to do that heavy lifting of going out and talking to people. So it's a really, really good tactic to use. Old school still works. I don't use it as much as I used to, but I did used to use this when I really first started my career, when I broke away from Fidelity Investments and started doing my own thing. I started using this, and I actually think I should start bringing it back because it could, especially now. If you really want to stand out from somebody, send them something nice in the mail, especially the merchant. Think about the merchants you're dealing with. If you're doing an MCA with a merchant, chances are, and this is not 100% true, so I say chances are a lot of the mail that they are getting is not nice. A lot of, when they go to their mailbox, there's an element of dread, right? It's bill collectors, it is other challenges coming in the mail. They're not always happy when they open the mailbox. And that's not always, again, some guys are coming for an MCA and it's like, well, listen, I need money quick and the bank's too slow and I don't want to have to go through the process. I just need a quick MCA to do a quick thing. I'm going to pay it off and no big deal. But we know that for a good chunk of them, it's emergency funding in some respects. Okay, it's fine. Send them something nice in the mail. Let them open up a handwritten thank you note, right? Include your business card because they might not have it, right? Mention that you really value their business, how much you appreciate it. And that you welcome any introductions to other merchants. And then you can include something with it, like, hey, here's the guide to managing cash flow for automotive businesses, repair businesses, or something like that. Or a URL. You can include a quick URL, like, hey, when you have a moment, visit our website and click like or download this guide. It's free. That we're providing it for everybody. If you would, share it, right? But really nice. And then follow up about a week later or a few days later with a call. If they don't call you first, by the way, you may, very often with this approach, somebody will call you or send you an email or a text even and say, hey, I got your card in the mail. Thank you so very much. It was really nice of you, type of deal. So connect with them in real world, right? Something tangible. Ask for likes, retweets, and shares. So we're getting back to the social again. It's a common theme, right? Niche marketing, getting a niche and using social media has been one of our common themes over this last year of working together, and that's going to continue. Just so you know, you're going to constantly get some of these tips. But here's why it works: 67% of people are more likely to buy if they've seen a brand shared or liked by a friend on social media. And if you use social, which I would assume most of you do, since it's becoming pretty ubiquitous, you've experienced this yourself. You see a friend like or comment or interact with a brand, and whatever that brand is, you're more likely to explore it, right? To engage with it and click on them and go check out their Facebook page or their website or whatever and kind of tinker around. The same's true for you. Again, merchants hang out with other merchants. They know store owners won't know other store owners. Automotive repair businesses know other automotive repair businesses, right? Because the oil change guy knows an auto body shop guy and a transmission repair guy and all that type of stuff and parts suppliers. So they know other people in their network, and they're likely in today's world connected on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and the like. So why not leverage that with some ease, right? So ask them. With a private note, by the way. Doing this publicly feels a little ugly. Send them a DM or a Facebook message or an email, right? Ask them if they would be willing to like or retweet. If you're asking them to retweet or share a post, have a specific one in mind, right? So if you created that guide that we talked about earlier, and something like that, a piece of content, or you're hosting an event or something of that nature, send that to them. Say, hey, would you mind clicking this and liking this or sharing this with your network? I think a lot of people will get something out of it. You're not asking somebody to buy anything, right? You're not asking them to sell anything. You're just asking them to do something they do all day long anyways. Like, share, retweet. So ask them to do that. Some other ways to get things moving. Hosting a contest. There's lots of tools out there. As you know from previous webinars, if you've been on them, I use Hootsuite for our professional stuff. So Hootsuite's a fantastic tool. They have some things in their pro offering where you can run contests. You can do some other things there as well. Contests are fantastic. People love contests. Give away a gift card or something of that nature or whatever. But have a contest. Encourage people to engage with you, right? And a contest can be simple, like choose the picture that our new logo. Choose whatever. Like what picture do you like best? Or then people get something in reflect. So it's great. But people will have to like your page. It's called fan gating. People will like your page. People might have to retweet in order to be entered into the contest or what have you. Find something that your network, your target market values, and offer that. Okay. Using polls. This is another good one. This is a double-edged awesome sword, right? So it's positive on both sides. Using polls, right, to ask people about things, so merchants about whatever, a Twitter poll, you can use a Facebook poll, to ask them like, what are your top 3 challenges? What are the, what's your busiest season? What's the one product your business can't live without, right? Or whatever it is. Just ask those questions. You're going to get some valuable insights, and you can share that with your referral partners. And if you do this enough, by the way, you're basically creating a study for your target market. Guess what happens? You can package that into a new piece of content and then ask people to share it. So imagine a study where a lot of different information about automotive repair businesses, what they like, what they don't like, what their challenges are, and you can package that into a 2-3 page kind of Nielsen report-like summary, and you can share it with people. Or you can do a webinar, right, and present that data in slide form like we're doing here, and suddenly you've got a virtual room full of merchants who are interested in what you have to say, and now they know who you are, and you're getting, basically it's turning into referrals, right? Okay, rewarding referrals, and this is, we're getting to the end here. So rewarding referrals, some of the classic stuff, paying a bounty, cash is king. I talked to one ISO not too long ago who offers 3% of the deal, payable not to the merchant's business, but payable to the merchant himself. Big distinction there, right? Again, go back to a good percentage of the people who are coming to you are experiencing a cash flow emergency. And if their business is experiencing a cash flow emergency, chances are they personally are experiencing a cash flow emergency, because if they weren't, most merchants would reach into their own personal pocket and self-fund if they could. But they can't. And if things are tight in the business, things might be tight at home. I don't know what your business model looks like exactly, but if you have the ability to be willing to say to somebody, like, if you send me somebody and I can reward you, I will. And you pick whatever the number is. But like I said, the one merchant that I talked to, I think this was last year, they occasionally will offer 3% of the deal that closes. So, not insignificant money for some deals. Amazon gift cards, they are like the default gift now, to be honest with you. They're amazing. Everybody look, you can buy anything you possibly can imagine off of Amazon. Now, Whole Foods as well. So offer, it can be nominal. It can be something small. It can be a $20, $50 gift card. Just keep in mind, though, in both of these cases for referrals, it's pay only when a referral converts. The negative with that is that people will only do so much work for you for a maybe, right? They have to feel like there's a solid likelihood that that person's going to convert, right? So you may want to offer some other benefit, right? So you can keep these deals in place, a bounty, if you will, in place, but offer something else. Like, give them extra value so they continue to think that interacting with you and sending you business is a good deal. You don't want them only thinking, I'll only send you somebody if I really think they're going to convert, right? Because they don't know your business well enough to make that decision, to make that call for you. They don't know if the person's going to be qualified. They don't know if they're going to need the kind of money or how the conversation is going to go, right? So we need to take that burden off them. So you see some other opportunities here. As I said earlier, send them referrals, right? Start rewarding them off the bat. Do what you can. Write an online recommendation. Promote their business. When you close somebody, you kind of have a vested interest in their business, right? I want to make sure that people are aware of the auto shop that just started doing business with me that closed an MCA. I'm excited for them. I want them to succeed. I want them to pay it back, right? Because that ends up being a good deal for me, and I get to get, better business with Pearl and so forth, and I'll get more referrals. So tweet out Joe's Auto Repair. Hey, check out Joe's Auto Repair. They did a great job. Really like meeting those guys. You don't have to say what they did for you, right? But promote their business. Retweet them. Little fun things. Add them to an exclusive email list, or add them to your Facebook or LinkedIn group. This is a powerful thing, and I may have mentioned this on a previous webinar, but I host an event here during South by Southwest every year, and it has done wonders for me and my business. I'm putting the right people in a room together. Well, you can do that virtually as well. You can have a group in which you host it, and you invite people who you want to have in the group. So your referral partners, so it can be those attorneys and some of the bankers, and others who would benefit from your referral network, but also invite those auto repair shop owners. And they start to develop an appreciation for you hosting the party, if you will, to help them. And it's off the grid, right? They're not asking their questions publicly anymore. They're asking them of you. And inevitably, referrals will come out of that. But it's a great way of rewarding people and getting them to feel like they're part of a community, and continuously reminding them that you're the guy or the lady who set it up. Okay, for the next month, and we're going to get to Q&A after this, so get your Q's and A's ready. I'll get the A's ready. All right, so for the next month, create something to share with your merchants and client referral partners. I want to stress this. It does not have to be some sort of perfect, amazing document that you spend 50 hours compiling and it's all glossy, printed, and just amazing. Okay, it should be valuable information. It should be useful, right? And it should be something that would have been a slight pain in the butt for them to pull together on their own. It does not have to be overly difficult. And if you want to get some suggestions, feel free to email me or what have you, and tell me a little bit about your target market, and maybe I'll share some stuff with you. But think about that. What could you share with your target market that will be helpful for them? And how quickly could you pull it together, right? And then see if you can find some people to share it, right? So reach out to 10 people, 10 merchants, ideally ones that you've either worked with multiple times or ones you've recently closed, so they have a recent memory of working with you and they're happy with you, okay? Reach out to them and ask them if they'd be willing to share this piece of content with others that are in their network. And then go out of your way. This is so important. Just like get behind it like crazy. And we're just talking 10 people here, 10 merchants. We're not talking 1,000 merchants. Go out of your way to help these merchants. Go out there and write recommendations for them. Promote their business online. Send them referrals if you think you can. Right? Do little things, anything you can, like all their social media posts. Or do some stuff that just shows, hey, listen, I didn't just close you and forget you, right? And get your money and I'm out of here, right? I'm here for you. I'm supporting you, because that you increase that trust factor. You make them feel good. All sorts of goodness, right? So really 3 little next steps. So now let's do some Q&A. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. So feel free to ask questions. Feel free to offer comments. It's things that you learned. I'm here for you, baby. If you don't want to, if you don't want to ask publicly on the webinar, you can always, as in previous months, and this typically I get, several ISOs will reach out to me after the webinars via email. I've had several phone calls as well with some of you, so it's great, including Dan last month. That feel free to email me some of your questions if it's a little too personal, or you have some discomfort, because we are here for you again. The Pearl team has done a fantastic job of putting something in place that they can be proud of, that they're trying to help you and grow your business. So please do send your questions in. We want to make these as good as possible. All right. Oh, here we go, Ernesto. Where do we find the past webinars? I do not have the URL handy on me, Ernesto. Grant can send that out with the follow-up, because he'll be sending out in the next day or so, you know, a link to this. You'll be able to get this a PDF version of this presentation. He'll send that out to you. It might even go out today. I'm not sure what Grant's schedule is, but I'll make sure, Grant, if you're listening, if you could include the URL, that would be super helpful. Ernesto would like that. You're welcome, Ernesto. We've covered a lot of ground over in these last several months together. One of the more recent posts that it was pretty detailed research piece in terms of, like, how much money you should spend on marketing and so forth. That was a really good one. Some really good information in there. So I'll stay online here for a couple of other questions, just in case they come in late. I've noticed in the previous webinar, sometimes people sit there and noodle on it for a while and then they ask a question. So you didn't lose me. I just kind of got lost in thought there for a second. So, as we get ready to close out here, I'll give it one more minute if we don't see any other. Oh, I see somebody coming in. Here we go. See? So Shireen asks, I am a credit card processing company. How do I narrow down my niche? That's a fantastic question, Shireen. So I do advise you go check out the Niche Marketing for ISOs webinar that we did. So it'll be much more detailed. But I'll give you just a general overview real quick here. One thing that I would do is I'd go back and look at your previous business that you've worked on, like, so the clients that you've closed or the merchants you're working with, and see what you see in commonality. Where have you had the most success? You may find that a large percentage, and a large percent could be 10%, right, of your business. What's the single largest block that looks similar, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be industry, right? I mean, it can be, and it's usually recommended that you pick an industry niche, because it's just so much easier, because you can have, but it can be female business owners, right? It could be a location. It could be in my town. It could be, right, any number of things. But spend some time thinking about it. Who do you feel most comfortable with? What did you do before you ran your credit card processing company? What background do you have that makes you uniquely qualified or passionate about a specific group of merchants? And then think about, do they have specific needs that I can package my messaging to address, right? So we talked a little bit about creating a guide for the financing needs of auto repair shops. As an example, what are their specific needs? What do they have that's different? Or what's this? And sometimes it's like it's the same needs as any other business in the world, but they call it different stuff. Use their language. So don't be afraid to do that. Okay, next one, Wade. I'd be interested in getting a list of past broadcasts as well. Okay, Wade, that'll be up there. Shireen, how to become more of a specialist to my bank partners? That's a great question. Ask, what can I do more for you, right? Find the people that really like talking to you, the ones that take your call all the time, take your email all the time. What can I do for you? What are some unique problems that you're seeing that you don't see other credit card processors solving? Right? That's a great way to approach that, because you're telling them you're thinking about them and you want to be a specialist partner for them. You want to be able to hit notes that other players in the industry are not hitting. So you go to them with that attitude. That's super duper helpful. Irene, you're super welcome. Thank you very much. So that's nice to get a thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, please do share anything you learn with your team or other people you're working with. That's great. Let's see. Shireen has a couple more. Shireen's crushing it with the questions. Nice job. Shireen asks, I was in retail banking as a manager and banker for more than 15 years. Well, great. So you're unique there, right? So banks, there's a challenge, right? So banks aren't going to need you as a credit card processor, but you can leverage those relationships, if you have relationships, to ask them, like, where are they seeing growth? Where are they seeing businesses that need more help? So as an example, like, there are still businesses, and you see them as a credit card processor, that's where you're getting a lot of your business from, that are still saying cash only, and it's 2017. I'm sure your banks, some of these banks may have some awareness of these humans, these merchants that are out there saying they don't want to accept credit cards anymore, and those people are going to have a challenge pretty soon, right? We all know that, because we don't carry cash anymore. You're welcome, Serene, but thank you. Okay, so that was a good wrap. Like I said, please feel free to email me, reach out to me on Twitter or wherever if you have additional questions. If you have questions specifically about Pearl Capital and MCA or how they do business or anything that's on the Pearl Capital website, please do direct those to Grant and the Pearl Capital team. They're going to be more helpful than I would. I will always try to help if I can, but thank you so much. You're a wonderful audience. I really do appreciate you attending today. It is truly an honor to be serving you and working with Pearl Capital team. And I look forward to our next webinar, which will be the end of September. And also, we've got another, look for another post coming out, a written post coming out from me in the next few days or so as well. It'll be really good stuff. All right. Keep up the good work. Go get them. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.